One.
Hello and welcome to GV Face, the Global Voices Hangout series. I'm Amir Al-Husseini, the Middle East and North Africa editor. Today we'll be talking about Tunisia's parliamentary elections with Ahmed Midian, our Global Voices author, Amir Sfaxi, who is an election observer, and we hope we'll be joined by Suha um, Waraghi, who's a
Yeah.
youth activist who says that she won't be voting tomorrow. So we have a very big day ahead of you tomorrow, right? What's happening,
Yeah.
Ahmed?
Tomorrow is basically the day we've been waiting for as a nation for years. Um, the elections have started already abroad, so people need to realize that tomorrow is going to be the elections where Tunisians inside Tunisia will vote, and we will elect a new parliament that would not only legislate for the new Tunisia, but would also make the bulk of the government, because the majority party that will most of the seats will decide on the new prime minister of the country in the next 5 years. Yeah, pretty important.
And Amir, what will you be doing tomorrow? What does being an observer mean?
Tomorrow I'll be a mobile observer with iWatch. So the mission of a mobile observer is to observe the environment of the elections and the bureaus of the elections too. So we are going to be in Tunis too, moving in all. It's a big area, and we are going to move from bureau to bureau and see the environment. If there is if there is any infractions of the elections or something like that, and report it if there is. We already started the observation of the elections. Many NGOs in Tunisia are observing the elections. I watch Atid, Muraqibun, and other NGOs, even the European Union is observing election in Tunisia. Before the day of the election, we already observed the financial campaign, how did they manage it, their campaign, and monitoring the media for some other NGOs. So tomorrow it's a big day. We are going to try to be efficient and to report everything if there is any infraction. We had already a couple of infractions that already happened, but we are still we are going to see for tomorrow and do a final report about these elections.
Are you in a position to tell us what you saw and like what violations you registered over the past few days, or?
Yes. Uh, for now, I can't say exactly because we are waiting for the official reports. So what I'm going to say is assumed by me, and it's my own opinion. So what we saw in for infractions for now, we saw that people that are running for the presidential elections, they took it some signatures of other people without saying to them. So they just took some databases of ID cards, and they put their names with their ID cards number, and they said that they are supported by those people. To run for a presidential election, you need to have 10,000 people supporting you or 10 deputies supporting you. So some of the people that are running for the presidential elections, they did have fake supports, and this is one of the biggest infractions ever in elections. It will be for presidential elections. The other, it's about the elections abroad now. You know that the elections started in Europe and started in Australia and the rest of the world, even in the Gulf countries and America. So we have some people, because we need to be silent on the days of the elections, and we have some people that are still doing a campaign into the elections, into the waiting places of the elections. So this is prohibited by the law. These are the major changes. We do also have a little problem with the official instance of the election. I cannot tell about these events because we need to. It's gonna be an official point of view, but there we saw that the instance didn't took decisions that there is the elections. There is the elections law, and there is a little law empty, what we call law empty. I don't know. In French, it's champ électoral, where the instance of the election needs to take some positions, but they didn't took any of it. They just let it go in some decisions. So we're gonna write this on an official report and determine the case.
This is a very, very, very big event for you. Like, this ends the transitional phase in Tunisia after the Tunisian revolution. It sets the first steps of a real democracy. Is this the first election you both look young? Is this the first election you vote in, or the second?
The second. Yeah.
Ahmed, this is the second?
Yeah,
And,
yeah. Actually, I turned 18 just in for the other election, so I was rather lucky. Yeah.
But that election was right after the revolution, right?
Yeah, it was
So,
2011, the same year. Yes.
yeah, but can you tell us the mood? How different is the mood from your first election to today? What has happened to you, and what has happened in the Tunisian society? We have 10,000 candidates, more than 100 political parties, and 217 seats only.
Yes.
Like, how is all that playing out?
I mean, I can tell you from my own experience, from my own point of view, the nature of the elections is different, is drastically different from the first elections to these elections. The first elections were to choose a constituent assembly that will draft a constitution for the country. That was rather it. I mean, other things had happened in the meanwhile, that in the constituent assembly had played the role of the parliament, but people went to polls to elect parties that will draft a constitution according to their personal beliefs. Now we go into the polls to elect a parliament. We know that, and we know, like with the parliament, people know that the majority party, like I said before, will choose the next government, and that is important right now because as we live in a wound economy, the country here has, not just the economy is like one of the problems. We have so many environmental problems. The unemployment, I would say, et cetera, et cetera. The people realize that they want to have their, the true representative this time at the election, at the parliament, to choose for them, to truly represent them, to actually draft laws that will help them personally. Another thing maybe Amir can emphasize is the organizational part for the elections. This is a completely different new organization where the election does not build on what happened in 2011. This is completely new. This is a new election committee that is organizing a new kind of elections. That is it. Yeah. Well, how I feel about it, I'm just gonna 30 seconds. In 2011, it was more. It's like the effervescence effect. It's like, oh, everything is awesome. Like everything is happy, and people just went with emotions, right? Like this person spoke well, so I'm just gonna vote for him. Now, after 4 years of stagnation, I would say people really think that they should vote for the right, and I quote, person that will do actions this time, that will execute what they say, rather than just sound nice on TV. Yeah.
What about you, Amir?
I think that the context of these elections is completely different, as I said, my friend Ahmed.
Amir, I can't hear you.
Sorry, you can't hear me?
I can't, yeah.
You are listening to me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I think that, like said my friend Ahmed, the context of these elections are completely different. We have now new situations to deal with in Tunisia. We have the problem of the security. It's the main concern for Tunisia and even for our friends or our neighbors. We are facing some terrorist cases. We had political killings and murders that never happened before in the history of the Tunisia, the independent history of the Tunisia, or that happened but not officially. We didn't saw those kind of executions officially. So we have to deal with the new situation. So people now are voting, and they have in mind that uh, we can we can't just put Tunisia on the hands of people that doesn't have programs and people that doesn't demonstrate their power or willingness to control the country as it used to be. Now for Tunisia, we have the problem of the employment that wasn't resolved. We have the problem of the marchers of the revolution that wasn't resolved. We have the problem of the people of the ancient regime that isn't resolved. Like we had 3 years of a government that tried to deal with a very difficult situation. It was very difficult. uh, Now we already resolved the problem of the uh, definition of the or redefinition of the Tunisian society. That was a big discussion on the and I think that it was the most important discussion into the assembly. Now we are going really to deal with our problems. To deal with, we have like today. Unfortunately, Tunisia is maybe the first country that exports terrorists in the world. It cannot be but to see what's happening in Tunisia and people who are claiming for democracy and people who are showing the way to the other Arab countries, and in the same time having the most part of terrorists going for jihad or in different areas. So now we need to focus on the youth. We need to have a youth policy, and it's very important because when we talk about youth, youth are the major victims of what happened. Youth are the ones that going to as terrorists. Youth are the ones that hasn't work and have many problems, and youth have a lack of education and a lot of kinds of problems. So I think that youth is one of the most important concerns about the new Tunisia and people that are going to vote. Unfortunately, we don't have youth very represented in the list, but they need to have in mind that the youth problem is very different.
Oh. So you have a lot to think about. And this vote, I was speaking to Ahmed earlier about, and he told me about a person, a taxi driver who did not want to vote because of religious reasons. Can you tell us something about it, Ahmed?
It was rather funny, we have. I'm not gonna talk about contest. I just took a cab with a cab driver, and he was telling me. I asked him if he was gonna vote on Sunday, and he said 80% yes, 20% no. But the 20% no comes from his religious belief, not because he does not believe in democracy, but he thinks his vote is a responsibility, and for his Muslim belief, he thought that he will be punished if he votes for the wrong quote party. And that is, I thought, maybe that this is something that is really shared amongst some Tunisians who would not vote because of that. But actually, there are polls which say that not a lot of Tunisians this time are going to vote. I don't know if I'm France 24, for instance, when they were reporting on Tunisians in Paris, Tunisians voting in Paris, since Christian, they said that the vote, even though there are more sign-ups and the vote bureaus in Paris, less people actually showed up. But this is still preliminary. I mean, we cannot really conclude anything without official results. But yeah, I mean, this is one thing. This is one reason. This is one, uh, some people might not join other Tunisians on Sunday for the elections. Yeah. Other people like Suha would not apparently join us today. Is going to cast a white ballot because she thinks she was excluded from the political message in Tunisia. Uh, there had been great polarization between Tunis and Nahda, the Islamists, versus seculars
So,
in Tunisia, and a
Nidat,
lot of people Nidat Tunis, yes.
it is a,
Um,
what is it?
it's I don't want to like put it in the secular bucket, but it's the main non-Ennahda party in Tunisia. It includes
So
people from the former regime.
you have a Nahda, which is an Islamic party,
Yeah,
and then you have Nidat Tunis, and
yes.
they're the two big blocks, and then you've got a lot of little small parties.
Well, economically, they're both, like economically, they're both similar. Like they're both want to liberate the economy, etc. They're both, have the capitalist agendas for the economy. So they're not really drastically different. Socially, though, it's like, I mean, it's like Republican Democrat. Like they have like, two different views on how Tunisian society should behave socially, and this is like a main drive for people to vote for this party or the other. There are other parties, obviously, who matter on the along the political spectrum, right, from the right to the left. What I was saying is some people felt left because they felt not represented by these two major political forces, and that most of the political masses did not speak to them during the electoral campaign. I want to slide this to Amir if he can tell us what he thinks about the polarization of political campaigning in Tunisia. If he can talk about it.
Okay. For me, I think that the problem is that especially the youth. I'm sorry to stress on this, but because it's one of my it's part of my job to focus on this problem. But I think that the problem is that the persons they didn't feel themselves represented, and they felt themselves like let it for granted by some political parties. They are all talking about youth but they didn't done anything about the youth problem. So I think that youth problem is the branding, and the people who are feeling themselves used as branding are saying we are not going to vote. Those people we don't trust them. They only talk and they don't really cares about us. And this is the I think one of the most biggest problem. We have um, we have a survey conducted by the Youth National Observatory who said that 3% of the youth only are engaged in civil society or 5%, sorry, on civil society or political parties. 2% are engaged on political parties, and more than 50% of youth they doesn't want to vote, and this is a very big problem. We had like a demonstration yesterday in Tunisia, where some youth made a demonstration onto one of the main streets, Hali Bourguiba, the main street of Tunisia, where all the events of revolution happen. And they said boycott, and we don't want to vote. Uh, they were captured by the security forces. Unfortunately, we hope that everything is okay, but um, for them, because they do have the right to express their opinion and without violence or without being violent. So this is a big concern. Um, so I think that the most of the people that are not going to vote are the people, the young people, and especially the young people who are living in poor neighborhoods in Tunisia and who are feeling themselves used by not, but not represented.
So despite having like 9,000 to 10,000 candidates and 100 political parties, there are still people who don't feel they belong in the process. But regardless, it is a process that will happen. Tomorrow you'll go and cast your votes, whoever wants to vote. And then for the next 5 years, you'll have a parliament, a working parliament, which is hopefully different than the parliament of the past era. And that signifies a lot of hope. How has the campaigning and the election played out on social media? What online tools have been used to raise awareness about the elections and monitor the process? Emir?
Okay. I'm part of the Independence Youth Democrats. It's an NGO who is caring about democracy and about citizenship. And we've done some work on the ground with other NGOs and with the official instance of the high instance of the elections. We went on the ground and we talked to the young persons, raising their awareness, talking about the importance of the elections, talking about the importance to be a good citizen of Tunisia, a good citizen who is citizens who vote and who take part to the political process. Um, we made also a couple of videos and a couple of explaining videos and learning videos. We made also a website called اختيارتونس.org. اختيار Tunis is a project that we made. It's a series of 30 questions that we gave to political parties who are participating in the elections, and they answer yes or no or I don't know. And this website helps the people to choose and to see what is the position of a political party for certain questions. We are talking about heritage. We are talking about
Students.
we are talking about many problems that we already didn't that the constitution didn't pass or final decision of it. So we are doing many NGOs in Tunisia are doing good work on advertising on TV, on advertising on social media and everything. But let me tell you about the point. We talked about the infractions. Prohibited to have advertising for elections. But the political parties can't do an paid advertise on TV or on the web or something. And we had most of the political parties that paid Facebook for having a sponsorized pages. This is one of the infractions that what make but with all the political parties took this infraction. So we are going to report this too for infraction.
What about you? Ahmed, what kind of message would you like to send to young voters in other countries that have had a similar process after Tunisia, after your revolution?
Ukraine?
Egypt.
Like Ukraine. Ukraine is gonna vote tomorrow for their first parliamentary elections after their revolution. Yeah, Ukraine. It's like they picked the only day that we were gonna vote to compete with us for international. No, I'm kidding. I just want to say one thing about social media. I was actually I was thinking about this yesterday, and I think I'm disappointed because as much as social media contributed to the momentum to create what have become, the Tunisian revolutions, now political parties are still, like political involvement, I would say at least, is still shy on social media. Like there are some deputies, for instance, who really championed Twitter, for instance. They would live tweet, for instance, the sessions, the national, like the national assembly, the previous one. That was good. But during this campaign, I don't think there was any political party that did like a remarkable work, on social media. On Facebook, as you said, yes, there are a lot of people that paid for the sponsored videos, and that is prohibited. But there wasn't really any sort of like engagement, like a social platform where, for instance, a political candidate would take in questions from the large public and he would answer them, right? Like not the kind of views, only sort of like we're updating you, like what we're doing, like we're posting photos, like a mundane social updating of what is happening on the ground. My message is, even when we started in 2011, we thought we will be done with the transition process in 1 year. And it stalled to the point that people wanted to dissolve, the National Assembly back then and revert the whole process. I mean, the whole transition. People really were that fed up, but we stuck through it. And even though nothing really came out of it, even if we stuck through it, like nothing, like in terms of job opportunities or in terms of like purchasing power, that didn't change. But we still stuck to it until now that we have these elections. I really hope I would talk about Ukraine since they're voting tomorrow. I really hope like youth in Ukraine would feel implicated as much or more than youth in Tunisia. To go vote, to go for the people that they think would represent them, in their parliaments, to draft the kind of laws that they think that they wish they would have, that they think they would benefit them, and not out of like emotions, not just because they look nice or because they speak well or because they have some kind of like populist agenda that please everybody, but because they truly believe that they can help the situation.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, Amir. And this is only your second big election, and I hope you vote in many, many, many more elections to come. And thank you, Sahar, for working behind the scenes. And thank you to everybody who joined us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Amira.
Thank you.
We're running out. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hope that you'll see your fingers with the blue with the blue anchor.
Do they still do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Here, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I can tell you, people are very, very happy to have the ink on their finger. Everybody. I mean, people will be specifically looking for that on Monday. Like, do you have your finger with the ink thing? Like, people would be looking for it.
Yeah, people are excited to Instagram and to tweet and to Facebook their fingers.
So you'll be using social media to cover